They thought they could take on America's might. They were wrong, dead wrong. When a Mexican cartel dared to fire on a US F-16 fighter jet patrolling the border, they had no idea they were about to unleash the storm. A routine mission turned into a lightning-fast counterstrike that left the cartels scrambling for cover as American power roared down from the skies. That single gunshot marked a moment everything changed. It began as a normal patrol along the U.S.-Mexico border. An F-16 cruised at 20,000 feet, tracking cartel movements as the sun dipped over the desert. Hidden in the rugged terrain below, armed cartel members opened fire. Not random shots, but a coordinated attack using high-powered rifles and a heavy machine gun. The rounds couldn't touch the jet, but the message was clear. They were challenging the U.S. military directly. Border residents heard the sharp rattle of gunfire, followed by the deafening roar of engines as the pilot, a decorated Air Force veteran, dropped altitude to pinpoint the threat. In seconds, the jet systems locked onto every target, exact locations, heat signatures, even the faces of the shooters. The attackers fled, thinking they'd made their point without consequences. They couldn't have been more wrong. Within hours, one of the largest anti-cartel crackdowns in history was underway. Military convoys rolled into border towns. The skies filled with aircraft. The era of cartel impunity at the border was over. Inside the cockpit, the F-16's warning lights flashed as sensors detected muzzle flashes below. Advanced targeting and surveillance systems went to work, mapping the terrain, tracking vehicles, intercepting cartel communications, and transmitting every detail to command. In less than 3 minutes, the U.S. military had enough intelligence to dismantle an entire network. The cartel's attack wasn't a show of strength. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. They thought the F-16 was just for intimidation. Instead, it was a flying intelligence hub, capable of turning a split-second skirmish into a full-scale military operation. Within hours, cartel safe houses were raided, smuggling routes exposed, and communication channels compromised. Years of criminal infrastructure crumbled in the wake of a single bad decision. They wanted to send a message. They did, straight to the heart of American military power. And America answered. They thought they were untouchable, but in a single reckless moment, they woke the full power of the United States military. In the chaos that followed, American and Mexican forces united in a way no cartel had ever imagined possible. The result was a lightning-fast, multi-state operation that dismantled their empire piece by piece. The unprecedented response. The attack on a US F-16 set off an emergency response unlike anything the border had ever seen. Within minutes, 4 more F-16s were airborne, locking down the skies. Black Hawk helicopters raced toward escape routes, carrying elite Army Rangers, trained for the most dangerous missions. Border Patrol established checkpoints on every road, within 100 miles, while Predator drones hovered above, scanning everything with unblinking precision. From space, satellite imagery was instantly retasked, tracking every movement across the rugged terrain. Thermal imaging pinpointed heat signatures in desert hideouts, once thought secure. By nightfall, special forces had these locations surrounded. The cartel's lookout network was useless against the speed and technology of a fully mobilized U.S. military. The crushing blow. Before dawn, coordinated raids erupted across 3 states. At a fortified ranch compound north of the border, special forces stormed in, guided by intelligence gathered just hours earlier. Inside, they found smuggling route maps, lists of corrupt officials, and caches of military-grade weapons. Proof the cartel was preparing for war. In another raid, agents seized 2 tons of cocaine, 1 million fentanyl pills, and dozens of trafficking victims. The biggest victory came in a quiet Phoenix suburb, where they captured Francisco Il Halcon Ramirez, the highest-ranking cartel leader ever taken on U.S. soil. By the end, 43 cartel members were in custody, including 7 from the FBI's most wanted list. Their leadership was shattered, their communications crippled, and their expansion plans destroyed. The hidden weapon. What the cartel didn't realize was that the F-16 they fired upon was more than a fighter jet. It was a flying intelligence hub. The moment the attack began, Its advanced radar and surveillance systems captured coordinates, faces, and weapons. Every phone call and radio transmission the cartel made afterward was intercepted and analyzed. In less than 4 hours, the cartel went from feeling untouchable to watching their entire operation collapse. Proof of what happens when you provoke the sleeping giant. When the attack came, the cartel never imagined they triggered the most advanced manhunt in modern history. Within minutes, locations of safe houses and identities of key associates were uncovered. Satellites were retasked to watch every movement in a 100-mile radius, tracking fleeing vehicles to secret sites that expanded the U.S. intelligence map of cartel operations. Military-grade drones, armed with thermal imaging, exposed underground bunkers by detecting faint temperature shifts across the desert floor. Caches hidden for years suddenly lit up on American screens. What the cartel thought was a routine target, an F-16, was in fact a flying intelligence hub. The moment gunfire erupted, cutting-edge systems went live. ASA radar locked coordinates. High-resolution cameras captured images processed in seconds through military facial recognition, and heat signatures revealed weapon types. Most devastating of all, the jet's electronic warfare suite silently hijacked communications, turning cartel phones and radios into live intelligence feeds. Voice patterns were matched to known operatives in real time, while satellites and drones closed in on escape routes. The technological overmatch was absolute. By the time the first shot was fired, the outcome was sealed, though the cartel wouldn't grasp it until raids began. Artificial intelligence fused data from border sensors, financial networks, and intercepted communications into a complete operational map that human analysts would have needed months to produce. Border towns felt the change instantly. Communities long crushed under cartel fear emerged into daylight. In Eagle Pass, Texas, residents flooded the town square as news of arrest spread, bringing photos of loved ones lost to violence, mixing tears with laughter. Extortion rackets vanished overnight. Restaurants saw record crowds as families ventured out after dark. Once empty parks filled with children's voices, school attendance soared. In just weeks, property values surged by 30%, and tourism returned to pre-violence levels. The psychological shift was just as powerful. Anxiety plummeted, community events returned, and trade flourished free of cartel interference. For the first time in years, these towns experienced something that had felt impossible: normal life without constant fear. The attack also sparked unprecedented international cooperation. Mexican special forces sealed escape routes within hours, sharing intelligence and joining joint aerial patrols. Financial teams in both countries froze cartel assets and fast-tracked extraditions. Leaders in Washington and Mexico City abandoned blame games, choosing instead to build permanent joint intelligence centers and shared training programs. International observers hailed the alliance as a model for fighting global criminal networks. In court, the case was overwhelming. A 350-page indictment tied the cartel to everything from the F-16 attack to vast money laundering networks. High-definition footage, ballistic matches, intercepted messages, and recovered financial records formed an airtight wall of evidence. The message was clear. In this new era of warfare and intelligence, striking at America meant facing technology, coordination, and resolve unlike anything the cartel had ever imagined. It started with a crack in the cartel's armor, one brave witness, then another, until a flood of damning truths poured out. Investigations into drug operations exposed corrupt officials who had shielded cartel activity for years. Survivors of human trafficking stepped forward, their voices adding charges so severe they carried multiple life sentences. But the most devastating blows came from inside. 7 mid-level cartel operatives, staring down their own life terms, turned on their bosses. In exchange for lighter sentences, they revealed the inner workings of the organization, its command structure, money pipelines, and global supply links. Prosecutors moved with surgical precision, linking physical evidence, digital records, and testimony into an unbreakable case. Legal experts called it flawless, no room for reasonable doubt. The impact went far beyond one trial. This case set new legal precedents. proving that military-grade intelligence could dismantle the most dangerous criminal networks in civilian courts. Innovative evidence-gathering tactics became the blueprint for future battles against organized crime. More importantly, it restored public faith that the government could take on the cartels and win. The trials gripped the nation. News outlets showcased not only the sophistication of cartel operations, but also the unmatched reach of American law enforcement. 6 months later, the border itself was unrecognizable. What began as a reaction to a single attack transformed into a complete overhaul of border security. Observation towers, with advanced radar, now spotted threats miles away. Linked AI systems could tell the difference between wildlife, migrants, and smugglers in seconds. Underground sensors detected tunnel digging that once went unnoticed. High-endurance, ultra-quiet drones stayed aloft for days, scanning vast stretches without being seen, and alerting operators only when real threats appeared. But the biggest change came in intelligence operations. Authorities infiltrated cartel networks both digitally and through human sources, stopping smuggling runs before they even began. The cartels were forced onto the defensive. Legitimate trade flourished, legal crossings became faster, and border towns saw unemployment drop as businesses returned. Nationwide, law enforcement adopted these same strategies against gangs and organized crime. The cartels, stripped of their untouchable status, shifted their focus elsewhere, forced to abandon their most profitable routes. Their downfall began the moment they made their worst mistake, firing on an American fighter jet.